and we're going to be just a few seconds away. This is a wonderful place to be. There's a nip in the air, and I know by California standards it's virtually a blizzard outside, but nonetheless.
And very, very dark.
And very, very dark. We were just chatting about that. But let's bring some light to Shabbat with some music.
Absolutely. Olam chesed yibaneh. Olam chesed yibaneh. I will build this world from love. Olam chesed yibaneh. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai, lalai. Olam chesed yibaneh. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai, lalai. Olam chesed yibaneh. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai, lalai. Olam chesed yibaneh. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai. I will build this world from love. I will build this world from love. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai, lalai. And you must build this world. And you must build this world from love. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai, lalai. And if we build this world, and if we build this world from love, yalalai, lalai, yalalai, then God will build. Then God will build this world from love. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai. Olam chesed yibaneh. Olam chesed yibaneh. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai, lalai. Olam chesed yibaneh. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai, lalai. Olam chesed yibaneh. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai, lalai. Olam chesed yibaneh. Yalalai, lalai, yalalai, lalai.
David, can you keep that melody going under the words? You'll figure this out. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
So, I want you to think as you're in your seat, what are you going to build this world from? Not in the larger sense, but the world of your next hour in Shabbat. I know in talking to a lot of you, you all came for a lot of different reasons. Some of you haven't been here in a while, and it's been wonderful to see you. Some of you are celebrating here on the eve of celebrating a simcha. Some I know come because of Kaddish. What is the reason you came? And depending on your reason, you will build your world of the next hour of our Kabbalat Shabbat and Shabbat service a little differently. So as you're listening to Olam Chesed for another second or two, and maybe Rabbi Cantor Wissett and Rabbi Cantor Bloom and Emma will sing us out in a second or two. Think about the world you're going to build. We know this is a sacred moment and a sacred space, as we're told by Abraham Joshua Heschel. Think about the space you're going to build, the world you're going to build at this moment.
We welcome in the Shabbat angels, page 142, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Brachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Page 138. With so much joy we welcome in Shabbat, with all of the peace and the goodness it brings. Yalalala lecha dodi, yalalala likrat kala, yalalala penei Shabbat lekabela, yalalala lecha dodi, yalalala likrat kala, yalalala penei Shabbat lekabela. entrance of the room. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam lesimcha, uv'tola, toch emunei, am segula.
Take a few moments and say hello to the people you know you're worshiping with, maybe those you don't know. Always nice to know the people around us and give a greeting of Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom again.
Shabbat Shalom again.
We're going to light the Sabbath candles, and actually we're going to make sure they're in a stable way. Now, if you are not yet bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah, you get to come up and light Shabbat candles. Even, would there be anybody in this room for whom their bar mitzvah might be tomorrow, but they would still tonight be eligible to light the Shabbat candles?
And their siblings.
And their sibling, yeah. So that's true. I don't want to point fingers anywhere.
Or look in his direction.
All right.
It's time.
All right. Here we go. There we go. Oh, this is perfect. This is working out beautifully. So nice.
La 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 ya 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 la 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav V'tzivanu lehadlik ner V'tzivanu lehadlik ner V'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat 156, we rise as we begin formally our prayer service with Baruch Hu. Page 150.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu v'shofteinu, U'meinu nasiach bechukecha, V'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, U'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yameinu, Uvahem negei yomam v'layla, negei yomam v'layla. Ve'ahavatcha al tasim, mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael, ohev amo Yisrael.
Page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Shema לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושימנתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות להם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Please turn in your prayer books to page 157. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. Together, the high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea, page 158.
Tehilot sefele Malchutecha rovanecha Okeyam lifnei Moshe Miriam Ze Elianu ve'amru Ze Elianu ve'amru Adonai imo le'olam va'ed Adonai imo le'olam va'ed Yai lai 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 la 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 Yai lai lai la lai la 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 Yai lai la lai lai la 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 Yai la lai la yai la 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 Yai la lai la yai la 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 Yai la lai la yai la lai la
Page 160.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom V'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim.
Sing it with us.
Hashkivenu Adonai of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkidenu Adonai, Eloheinu Shalom. V'hamidenu Malkeinu Adonai sefatai tifta ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise.
Page 166.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chastei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKolata, Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach Umorid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot umidam elach, melech meimid umechayeh umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata lehachayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaMetim.
Prayer for peace. Grant peace, goodness, and blessing, grace, kindness, and mercy to us and to all your people, Israel. Page 258. The words are Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha, Sim Shalom.
Sim Shalom, Tova Uvracha, Sim shalom.
Try that with us.
Sim shalom. Tova uvracha. Sim shalom. Sim shalom.
One more time.
Sim shalom. Tova uvracha. Sim shalom. Sim shalom.
Part two.
Sim shalom. Tova uvracha. Sim shalom. Sim shalom.
Let's try that one more time.
Sim shalom. Tova uvracha. Sim shalom. Sim shalom.
Part three, last one.
Sim shalom. Tova uvracha. Sim shalom. Sim shalom.
Let's go back to the beginning.
Sim shalom. Tova uvracha. Sim shalom. Sim shalom. Sim shalom. Tova uvracha. Sim shalom. Sim shalom. Sim shalom. Tova uvracha. Sim shalom. Sim shalom.
First part again.
Sim shalom. Tova uvracha. Sim shalom. Sim shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Before the service this evening, we gathered and spent a moment chatting, the four of us, and we were talking about when it gets dark this early, it just seems like everyone's more tired. And I don't know if that's your experience. I'll speak for myself and for the four of us, because we all agreed. You just seems more tired. It's the same number of days. It's still only 5 to 7, but somehow it seems like it really should be 5 to 11. And there's a real thing, of course, seasonal affective disorder that really comes into play when the clock changes and when the world is a bit different. We don't really have it that severely here in Los Angeles, but I am not a big fan of these long nights, even though the same number of hours in the day. I also think it makes us perhaps, when you get a bit feeling under the weather, it somehow feels a little heavier than it does, say, in the middle of July. Somehow, I don't know how that is, but that's how it seems. And of course, winter comes, and with it more things that people get sick from, so it feels as though we could just use a Misha Barak to carry around with us at every moment and hope that we're doing okay for ourselves and for the people we're with. So this is the moment in our service when we think of people close to us, people who are in need of a blessing of healing of the body or healing of the spirit. There's someone in your circle of family and friends, someone you care about, someone you love, and that someone could be you. I invite you to mention the name of your loved one at this time. We think of Barry Scherer, Debbie Fratkin, Terry Curtis, Bruce Ross, Howard Turner, Andrea Shapiro, Alfred Curtis, Moses Lerman, Danny Batchley, Debbie Goldberg, Michelle Posen, Harvey Pickus, Terry Weinberg, Sandra Mandel, Marie Hodgson, Daniel Marletti, Stacy Levin, Karen Bott Beatrice, Malka Pirkis, Gershon Ben Eliezer Visera, Beth Barber, Avram Rubin, Abigail Rice, Jack Block, Laura Klumek, Emily Berg, Jules Berg, Irene Lehman, Abby Myers, Stacy Adler, Marty Snyder, Rana Levitt, Josephine Berger, Yehuda Jablon, and Yehuda Jablon. The Misha Barak is on page 371.
Misha Barak Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom again. Again. What's that? You do? Oh, okay. How many up to? 5 or 6? Okay, that's not bad. Here's a question to begin this evening's Devar Torah. Beginning in January of 2023, how many women will be governors in the United States? Just take a guess. You're not, huh? 7? 6? 5? 1? There will be 12. Sounds very impressive. About how many women will serve in the Congress, combined House and Senate? Beginning in 23. How many? 62, 20, 70, 50. Got a lot of different things. The number is 149. Sounds impressive. Except when you consider that women are about 51.1% of the United States population doesn't sound quite as impressive. However, underrepresented women may be in the upcoming governors and Congress, it's still a record for both. And there's a tendency, after mentioning these numbers, to follow on with, well, blacks and Asians and LGBTQ are also underrepresented, and that's, of course, true. But there's one difference. And that difference is that women actually represent the majority of people in the United States. Only by a little, but they represent the majority of people in the United States. So comparing the representation of women to the representation of, for example, blacks, is not exactly an apple-to-apple comparison. And why is this important? There are any number of reasons that it's important, but certainly a significant reason is that our public debate still lacks a critical mass of women's voices. I don't know exactly what that critical mass is, but I know it must be more than 20% of women governors and a third of the United States Congress. And the reason this is important is because our public discourse, our historical discourse, our political discourse, our business discourse genuinely needs the voice of women. And the fact that there are 12 women governors, while a record and laudable and better than 0 women governors, does not change the landscape as much as if there were 40 women governors. Right? You know, for a long time, there were 50 states, there were just 50 men who were governors. Men certainly didn't blink an eye at that. What happens if there were 50 women who were governors at the same time of 50 different states? Would you find that hard to swallow? You would think it would be great. I actually think the same thing. But we're moving in the right direction, and we're not quite there yet. But the reason I bring this up is because the lack of a voice is at the center of the extraordinarily problematic narrative of Dinah in this week's portion, Vayishlach. So let's take a little look at that and see what we learn from that. Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, we're told in this week's portion, goes out to visit other women in the land. It was essentially, we can tell by the nature of the text, seemed to be a bit of a social call. A person who was not a member of the children of Israel, named Shechem, from a different tribe, saw her and did something to her. And there is debate among scholars, and many contemporary women scholars, about the Hebrew word that is used to describe what happened to Dinah. Now, for hundreds of years, perhaps thousands of years, this has been translated as the rape of Dinah. It's depicted in art. It's all over the place. This is the general acceptance of this week's portion involves the narrative of the rape of Dinah. One professor, Shauna Delansky, argues that the word actually isn't rape, but it's debased. And this debate is handicapped, and it's handicapped for the reason that we don't hear a single word from Dinah in this narrative. And Professor Delansky contrasts that with a place in the Hebrew Bible where the same exact word is used. The same exact word is used for what happened to a woman. It's the story of Amnon and Tamar. Not the Tamar of Judah, but the Tamar in the story of King David. And here, Tamar lets us know quite clearly that she was raped. But we don't have that voice with Dinah. We can only infer what happened, but we don't have Dinah's voice. And without hearing from Dinah, we're missing the crucial, perhaps the crucial voice in the narrative that we call the rape of Dinah. We hear from Shechem, by the way, of course. We hear from the male in this, obviously. And after the fact, I don't know that it's to his credit, but he claims that he loves Dinah and actually wants to marry Dinah. Of course, this has nothing to do with whether he actually raped Dinah or not, but we know that after the fact, he wants to or is willing to marry Dinah. And what is the impact of this? Why is this a problem, so much of a problem? Because the impact of not hearing from Dinah is that the narrative about Dinah becomes less about Dinah than it does about the men around Dinah. The narrative moves quickly from what is clearly a horrible act against Dinah to a narrative about her fathers, her brothers, Shechem, Hamor, and all the men in their community. And our focus shifts from Dinah, which is the proper place our focus should be, to these barbaric acts of revenge that Dinah's brothers take on Shechem and his brothers and their community. And this revenge is less about Dinah, and it's even really depicted like this in the text. Their revenge is really less about Dinah, per se, than it is about themselves. They feel more than just Dinah has been dishonored, their family has been dishonored. They have been dishonored, which is hardly the most important part of what happened to Dinah. At least I think so. And this is so typical of a male-controlled world in which an offense against a woman somehow victimizes a man. Now, the narrative of Dinah is hardly the only place in the Torah that we do not hear the voice of women. Probably far more known than this narrative is that the voice of Sarah is notably absent from the Akedah. Today, thanks to increasing numbers of women in Jewish studies and in the rabbinate, in the cantorate, we can imagine with more clarity what those missing voices might have said. There are beautiful midrashim written by women that open our eyes to the world of possibilities about what Dinah, what Sarah might have said. Now, I'm very happy to say that for some years now, even as far back as when I was ordained, which is already a long time ago, 50% or more of the classes ordained at the Hebrew Union College for both cantors and rabbis have been women. And I believe, in terms of cantors, it's high majority of women. Women in the cantorate and the rabbinate, and by which I mean their voices as well, and not merely their singing voices, which is wonderful to listen to, but their voices in terms of their presence. Their voices have changed the landscape of Jewish practice for the better. Rituals such as the Misha Barak, which we just embraced here in this congregation, and now virtually every Reform and most conservative congregations on Friday evening and sometimes on Saturday morning as well, if you're not doing it as part of the Torah service, have the Misha Barak, with Debbie Friedman's Misha Barak, as a crucial part of their worship service. I would suggest to you that that is entirely the result of women in the rabbinate. It wasn't men who decided to do that. I don't know, I have actually never talked about this, but I believe it really is the impact of women. Men had thousands of years to put it in. Thousands of years to put it in. Then we get women in the rabbinate and in the cantorate and women writing Hebrew songs and Jewish songs. And all of a sudden, I think that's a hugely positive thing. But think about that. I mean, men had a lot of time to do it. And I think that that is an important example. And I would also say, you all know that the orange on the Seder plate clearly began with women. And even what we should acknowledge is even when women didn't have a seat at the table, there wasn't a large number of men demanding we put an orange on the Seder plate. It wasn't until we had a critical mass of women that we agreed, okay, let's put an orange on the Seder plate. The inclusion of more spiritual practices, especially in the Reform movement, but in all of Judaism, I believe, has a lot to do with the result of the influence of women rabbis and cantors. So in our world, we've seen the payoff of this. We've seen the payoff of this. And I don't know if at the moment the split overall in terms of all the rabbis, including people who were ordained when you couldn't ordain women, I don't know if the split is actually yet 50-50, but it's got to be very close. You know? I don't know. I mean, I didn't look that up, but it's getting to the point where there's roughly 2,000 members of the CCAR, active members, and I would imagine we're closing in on the point where more than half of them are women. The problem is in too many fields beyond the Jewish world, women still lag far behind men in representation, and elected offices is particularly notable for the disparity in representation. And it's crucial not merely as a matter of numbers. We don't need to have 50% or 50.1% of women just because that's fair. Not at all. But I've already pointed out to you how much different the Jewish landscape has changed because of the presence of women as rabbis and cantors. Imagine how much different policy making would be if women were merely 50% of elected officials. Imagine the impact not only on abortion and family leave and health care, but what about the impact on declaring war? I think that if women were 50% of the elected officials, I think there'd be a much different approach to war, much different approach to sending troops overseas to fight. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's the case. In the entire history of the United States, there have been 116 justices of the Supreme Court. Out of those 116, there have only been 6 women, including the 4 who currently serve. What would be wrong with having all women on the Supreme Court? I don't think anything. Imagine this. If tomorrow we would only have women on the Supreme Court, it would take about 200 years for there to be as many women as men, to have 116 women. So we're a long way away from having any sort of balance there. 45 different men have served as presidents of the United States. How many women? 0. Of course. By the way, before you get upset, I'm aware there have been 46 presidencies. However, Grover Cleveland served 2 non-consecutive terms and was thus the 22nd and 24th president, which means there's only actually been 45 individual men. Didn't want anybody to fact check me on that. We are among the very few Western nations that have not had a woman serve as president or prime minister or head of government. Certainly hope that is something that in my lifetime will be rectified. I want to see a world in which women's voices carry the day in terms of declaring war, sending our troops overseas, determining our priorities on a national, state, and local level. Let them take the credit, and I'm happy to let them take the blame. I'm sure we should give them a wide berth for women to be just as bad as men have been. Since the beginning of time, men's voices have carried the day in every single part of our lives: religion, politics, academia. The narrative of Dina points to the importance of changing this as quickly as possible. Shabbat Shalom. Now, having given that Devar Torah, I feel a little bit awkward introducing Jay Schlanger as our board representative. Because as I'm thinking about
You're
it...
still outnumbered up here.
Yes, I'm still outnumbered. But Jay is our board representative. Sorry, Jay, you're still great, glad you're here, but as I'm saying it, it seems to be...
Well, I think there's more...
The president of the congregation is a woman. She just doesn't happen to be here tonight.
It's probably 50-50.
It's very... I think it may be more than 50-50, actually.
That's great. Okay, you guys have all seen this. First of all, thank you for our clergy and our cantors and cantors in training for one time, our musicians, And it's great to have different musicians come in and kind of give a different flavor to the music. I think it's just wonderful. Thank you so much. Congratulations to the Adler family. You're going to have a great time. Even if you mess everything up, don't worry, no one's going to know it. Have a great time. There's so much going on here, stuff I don't even know about. Everybody, you know, those of you who may be sick, or watching and afraid to be sick, if you come here, there's a lot of stuff going on, both online and here at the temple. Get involved. It's a lot of fun. And with that, I will say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Is there anybody here who's somewhere in the area of the calendar of celebrating a birthday? Excellent. We're inviting you to come up and join us at the Bema, at the Ark, as we open the Ark, and we're on page 586. Please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונה, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
At this moment in our service, let us remember loved ones whom death has recently taken and those who died at the season in years past. If you are here in our sanctuary this evening and you are mourning the period of Shiva, the 7-day mourning period, you wish to remember a loved one, please rise at your seat and mention the name of your loved one at this time. If you are here to mourn the period of the Shloshim, the 30-day mourning period, and you wish to remember a loved one, I invite you to rise at your seat and remember the name of your loved one aloud at this time. We think of Joan Bothast, Rick Kisson, Matthew Cheney, and Rick Kaiserman, for whom we are observing the period of the Shloshim. If you are here observing Yahrzeit, the anniversary of the death of a loved one, if you are here in the Shana, the year-long period of mourning, or if you are here mourning a loved one for any reason, please rise at your seat. We also call to mind those whose families have memorialized their loved ones outside the Goor Sanctuary: Meyer Berkowitz, Bernice Cherry, Joseph Foreman, Cheryl Chazen Gluck, Nathan Goldman, Herman Greenberg, Sam Hiller, Nettie Karp, Morris B. Krause, Marvin S. Lezak, Mary Lindenbaum, William Miska, Fanny H. Petler, Harry Posner, Morton Redding, Sidney Robinson, Sylvia Rose, Frida Safran, Leon Safran, Benjamin F. Stark, Saul Tansman, Adolf Turk, Irving Verblow, and Henry J. Vogel. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing to their loved ones. The Kaddish is on page 598. As we rise, please. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei rabbah, ba'al ma divrach irute v'yamlich malchute, v'chayichon uv'yomechon, uv'chayed l'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru, amen. Yehi shemei rabbah mevarach leolam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalao shemei d'kodeshah b'richu, La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran b'yama v'imru, amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, oseh shalom bin romav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, and let us say together, amen. We wish each other a Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Going to call up our bar mitzvah boy, Ethan, and his family to join us up here on the bima as we sing Oseh Shalom and as we then make Kiddush.
Oseh Shalom bimroma, Yaseh Shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimroma, Yaseh Shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimroma, Yaseh Shalom aleinu. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Oseh Shalom bin Romav, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bin Romav, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bin Romav, hu yaseh Shalom aleinu. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon infilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tefillah lemikra'e kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'charta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava Shabbat